I have a secret to share with you. I have been repeatedly chased around by these two innocent-looking little kids who are accusing me of being a scaredy cat. Here's the thing. Although I would never admit this to them, they weren't far from the truth. Let me explain. Last spring, I visited the breathtaking mountains of Costa Rica with my family, including my 7-year-old sister and 8-year-old cousin. We were hiking a trail surrounded by trees and peaks that you would think were only in a movie. It felt like a peaceful paradise. It was perfect. That is until I realized that this trail just so happened to include some of the highest hanging bridges in the country, and I have a huge fear of heights. The moment I stepped onto the bridge, I started hyperventilating. We were hundreds of feet above the ground with only waist-high railings on either side. The wind was blowing, swinging the bridge precariously while I was rooted to the spot, feeling terrible for slowing my family down, and you get the gist of it. I'm sure I wasn't alone in feeling like my fear was holding me and the people around me back. Now, my sister and cousin, on the other hand, with all of their never-ending energy, were running around, daring each other to jump and swing the bridge, while taking turns annoyingly taunting me and singing, "Na na na boo boo, you're a scaredy cat." That was the end of my piece. Meanwhile, I was still frozen, panicking, and forcing myself to take slow, careful steps without looking down. Rather than coming to my defense, the rest of my family chose to turn a blind eye to the bullying I was facing, and instead chose to enjoy the nature around them, while slipping in a comment that stuck with me. They called my sister and my cousin brave. Brave. Now, to most people, including me at the time, my family's comment on bravery seemed true. They were fearless, bold, and energetic. They clearly weren't scared or being cowards. But in that moment, I realized something that changed my entire view on the situation. They weren't scared to begin with. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines bravery as the quality or state of having or showing mental or moral strength to face danger, fear, or difficulty. This means bravery requires fear. You can't be brave unless you're scared. This idea is often overlooked. What people don't realize is fear is the very thing that keeps us alive. To understand why, we have to look inside our heads. Deep in our brains, there's a tiny almond-shaped part called the amygdala, whose only job is to scan for danger, and when it finds it, trigger what scientists call an amygdala hijack. When I stepped onto that bridge, my amygdala didn't see a scenic mountain view like the rest of my family. It saw a one-way ticket to a 300-foot plunge. It immediately staged a takeover, flooding my system with adrenaline and effectively locking any logical and rational thinking out of my brain. This is why we can't reason with a panic attack. We're trying to use physics and logic while our brains are running purely off survival instincts. Our primitive survival alarm that's rooted in us to keep us alive is running at 100% volume, and the mute button is jammed. My sister and cousin weren't better at bravery. Their danger detectors just hadn't gone off yet. But mine was blaring. And in my mind, there was a battle going on. Do I go with logic and facts, or do I go with my fight, flight, or freeze instincts? Do I listen to the alarm, or do I keep walking anyway? As I was preparing for this talk, I started thinking about how we all rank our fears differently. I came across a story told by comedian Andrew Tarvin that captures this perfectly. Tarvin was talking to Kevin Richardson, a man better known to the world as the Lion Whisperer. Richardson doesn't just study lions, he practically lives with them. His average day involves looking into the jaws of apex predators that could end him with one swipe of a paw. Most of us would call him the very definition of fearless. But as they were talking, the Lion Whisperer turned to the comedian and said, "You know, I could never do what you do. I could never do stand-up comedy. It's just too scary." Think about that for a second. A man who willingly puts his head near a lion's mouth is scared of holding a mic in front of an audience. Why? Because to Richardson, a lion is a known variable. He understands the nature of a lion, but the nature of a silent audience, that to him is his 300-foot hanging bridge. This encounter proves that fear is not a fixed target. It's a custom-built experience. Whether it's a lion, a mic, or a bridge in Costa Rica, the feeling in the pit of your stomach is exactly the same. The amygdala hijack is the same. The only thing that changes is the thing that triggers it. When we are safe, curled up inside the comfort zone, where nothing can bite us or break our hearts, literally and figuratively, that's our biological survival instinct doing its job. And it is very, very good at its job. But bravery is leaving that comfort zone. It's when you choose to listen to that small voice, the quiet one, in the front of your brain. The part that says, I'm gonna let my logic drive the car, and my fear can just be a passenger in the back seat. It's about recognizing that our instincts and our fear is great at keeping us alive, but our logic is what actually allows us to live. The theme for tonight is flip side, or putting things in a new perspective. And I think we've been looking at the wrong side of bravery for a long time. We've been taught to look at the fearless side, the people who don't blink, don't sweat, and don't hesitate. But when you flip that over, you find the real brave side. And that side, it's messy, it's sweaty, it's hyperventilating on a bridge in Costa Rica while your little sister calls you names. Your fear is not a sign of your weakness. It is the opportunity to be brave by facing your fear and growing. If we shift our perspective, even just a little, we start appreciating those moments, not when someone shows off their fearlessness, but when someone faces, overcomes, and eventually conquers their fear. Because you have to have fear to flip it. So the new angle, or rather truth, I want to offer you tonight is this. The man who spends his life living with apex predators is scared of holding a mic in front of an audience. Me, who feels completely at ease in front of an audience, is scared of walking across a bridge. And my cousin, who held his head up high and walked right along that bridge, is scared of these. So remember, the next time you see someone trembling but still taking that step forward, that's not a weakness. That's bravery in its purest form. Thank you.